You're listening to Empire by Design, episode 74.
Hey, I'm Katie White, coach, consultant, transformation facilitator, action taker, empire builder, and this is Empire by Design. In this show, we're building empires, we're sharing stories, and we're getting up close and personal on the strategies that make an empire in today's online world. Get all the show notes, past episodes and more at katiewhite.me. For now, settle in for the ride.
Warning, empire builders, she's gonna get real today. I don't know what happened, but over the long weekend in January, I took a walk on a beach, and I don't know about you, but the beach makes me so much more grounded, connected to the woo-woo, and connected to that vulnerable, real side of me. So what happened was I wanted to share a bit of the story behind why I started podcasting. I have shared this story before, but I share the edited version, and I decided I wanted to give you the real behind the scenes look at all my failings, flaws, fears, the lot, every F word you can think about. I mean, I've talked on the podcast before, particularly episode 37, about what I've learned from podcasting, but that's the business stuff. And I love the business stuff. And if you love the business stuff, you should also check out my interview with Ronsley Vaz, who founded We Are Podcasting, episode 57, about podcasting and what it can do for your business, and also episode 61, where I share a whole lot of awesome content creation tips from some of the world's top podcasters. And all those links are in the show notes. But this episode is not like those. Because I'm on the beach, it's also a little bit windy at times, but I've listened back and the audio is not atrocious, so please bear with me. And finally, obviously I'm promoting my course PodWell at the moment, and this month, February 2017, I'm giving away juicy bonuses if you buy the course. I'm giving away a limited number of your complete podcast setup tech on the tech side, so set up on your website for self-hosting or set up in Libsyn or with a third-party host, plus launched into iTunes. I will also, there's a couple of those left. I will also review your pod plan. That's just there's 5 of those available, or 4 now. And that is there's a number of worksheets you do preparing for your podcast. I'll review all of those and give you audio feedback. And I've also added special monthly Empire Creator calls, monthly group coaching calls, which is just for the newbies, so those who are not yet launched. This is only if you buy the support option, and FYI, the support option is cheaper. So you head over to podcastempires.com/join PodWell. For now, let's answer the question, why you and why now? Hello, Empire Builders. First of all, I need to explain where I am and why my sound might be incredibly different to you, how it usually is. I am on a beach in Lorne. It's Australia Day, although I don't really love to celebrate Australia Day as a proud Indigenous woman. But anyway, politics aside, I'm down in Lorne on the Great Ocean Road in Victoria, Australia, for my last summer holiday. Well, not my last ever, but, the last of the summer before the kid goes back to school, the bebés start childcare, and I go back to my day job 3 days a week, and my business fits into one neat little box on a Wednesday and my podcast. I know, crazy. And I was going to do this as a live in my Podcaster Posse group, which if you're not part of, please join, bit.ly/podposse. It's grown a little bit bigger, like it's less than 200 people, which I kind of like the intimacy, but there's some really great people in there, lots of podcasters to learn from if you're a podcaster or you want to be a podcaster, and lots of new bees wanting to podcast, getting inspiration. So do come over and join. But anyway, the point was I was going to do this as a live in there. I still might, but I just thought this could, I don't actually, all I had was a title. I don't really know what I'm going to say. And I just felt like such a personal topic that I might go on for a bit. So I thought I would record it using my lovely Dropbox app and just see what happens, see where it takes me. I've just been for a run, that's why I feel a little bit out of breath. And I'm on the ocean, and kind of those two things are really a happy place for me at the moment. It doesn't surprise me that I say that about the ocean, but it does surprise me that I say that about running. I'm really excited for this year because I've come into January and I'm a runner. I'm somebody who works out. When I say work out, I mean Pilates or yoga or barre or a high intensity interval training class. But I do that 3, 4, 5 times a week. And even though it's the year I'm turning 40 and I'm in early menopause and I've had cancer twice and a stem cell transplant, I am the strongest, wellest woman that I think I've ever been in my life. And that's pretty exciting, very exciting, uber exciting. Anyway, that's not what I was wanting to talk about today. What I was wanting to talk about was really the title was Why You or Why Me, because I'm kind of talking about both of us, and why now. And it's really, I wanted to talk about why you and why now in terms of, I'm obviously selling a podcasting course. I'm not hiding that. And of course it serves me. It serves me well if I can convince you that now is the time to start your podcast and I'm the person to help you. Of course it serves me. But that's not really why I'm talking about it. It's really a reflection on how much, and I'm about to swear, of a mindset fuck embarking on something so brave and something so visible as a podcast is. And I know that it is because I've been there and I go there most weeks. And I guess I wanted to share a little bit of my story. And I just did this on the gorgeous Mitley Dare to Flourish podcast. She interviewed me this week. And I did share the story that I've told a number of times, but I guess I've put, the way we tell stories, we tell them once we've kind of dealt with any of the shame or embarrassment or guilt or whatever. Like we sort of tell them once they're resolved, and we can I can separate ourselves from the emotion that was once in that story. And in some ways, maybe that's by doing that, by putting up that wall, I'm not doing you justice or really letting you see the process that I went through. And so I guess, I started a podcast because I was starting a business, and none of these were really cause and effect, but then they were at the same time because it was all this stuff I was thinking about and doing at the same time. I had this moment. I went to the Wellness Summit in 2014, which was just a mind-blowing experience, realising that there are so many people out there interested in alternative health and a different way of living and being in the world. I know, it's so funny to think that I didn't know there were other people like that out there, but so be it. And I just adored being in this room with 600 people, and I probably only had a conversation with one of them because I can be a bit shy when I'm out of my comfort zone. I can be a bit of an introvert, and I'm pretty shit at small talk, to be quite honest. And so I left that conference on such a high for the possibilities and the education and the inspiration, which is how, we all want to leave conferences. But I also was beating myself up about the fact that I did not talk to anyone, didn't make any new friends. I didn't speak to any of the speakers and tell them my story or how they'd made me feel or get them to sign a book or anything like that. I was totally crushed with myself for being that person. And it just really, I think about that woman and I just want to kind of shake her and cry for her, because there's so many opportunities I've missed through my own head fuck about why what I have to say is not worthy of being said, or why if I go up and introduce myself to some, wellness celeb or some sort of, the speaker, that I'm going to annoy them or I'm going to piss them off or they're going to mentally roll their eyes at being interrupted by me. And I've been like that for like 37 years. I had been like that my whole life. And I think that was the personal shift in me that said, not anymore. That's not the person that I want to spend the next 37 years of my life being. And that's just one little symptom, I guess, of that person and the change that I wanted to see in myself. And even just as I'm talking about it, I'm realizing that. I don't think I even realized that. And so I didn't think then, I'll go and start a podcast. That's how I'm going to get over myself. I think it just planted something in me, and I was already listening to podcasts then. I'd probably discovered them about 4 months before that conference, which was how I discovered the Wellness Summit, because I had listened to some of the Wellness Guys podcasts. And I guess as I got into, over the next month or two, I'd listen to people talking on their podcast and I think I can do that. I think I could do that, and I think that I want to do it, and I think that I would love doing it. And it shocked me. When you sort of you kind of have an identity for yourself of the person that you are, and the person that I always was a writer. I spent my entire childhood writing. My biggest bucket list dream of my life until about 10 years ago was to be a published author of a teenage young adult fiction novel, more than one. I studied writing at an amazing school in Melbourne. I have edited books, I've worked with publishers, I've written short stories, I've been to every writers' festival. I've been as obsessive about writing as I now am about business. And so for me to think, I've never had a desire to have a radio show. I've never had a desire for people to listen to my recorded voice, or for me to be someone that has to think and speak on the fly. Like, that's the appeal of writing, is you can spend hours on one sentence, whereas, something like live radio or speaking or podcasting is in the moment. Yes, you can script stuff, but it's just not the same. And so for me to start thinking about podcasting was for me to say, maybe the identity Katie Wyatt, the writer, can also be something else. And it wasn't scary, but it's the sort of thing that you could easily let pass by and ignore. It's like when somebody says, I'm going to run the New York Marathon, and you think, I'd like to run the New York Marathon. How amazing would that be? And then the little voice inside your head says, yeah, but you don't run, you've never liked running, you hate running. And you go, oh yeah, that's right, and you move on. Like, it could have been that moment. It could have been, Katie you just like the idea of podcasting because you like listening to these amazing podcasters, but you don't even like the sound of your recorded voice, you're not the best conversationalist, you're not an interviewer, and so just, go back, just start writing a blog, for God's sake, stop procrastinating. And that could have been it. That could have been the moment gone. And maybe it links back to that moment after the Wellness Summit of mentally saying, I'm not going to keep going on regretting moments because of my shyness or who I think I am or what I'm worthy of. And maybe it was that little seed that flourished when I had this thought that I could podcast. And, the rest, as they say, is history. Within a couple of months, I had a podcast. I had booked my first interview with the Merrymaker sisters. And, it's really nice that they're the next episode on my podcast when I'm recording this, because it's a bit of a full circle moment. And I booked the interview, and when they said yes, I was like, I don't even have a microphone. I don't even know how to record an interview or for conversation over Skype. I don't even think I have a Skype account, or I do, but I have never logged into it, so I don't know my password and, all of this stuff. But I figured my shit out. I figured it out. I did it, and I got off that first interview, and I flew out of my house on air, and I just kept going, and I kept going, and I kept going. And I'm so pleased that the mindset shift that has stopped me doing many things in my life did not stop me then. And if there is something in you that wants to podcast, because really why I'm teaching podcasting is because I know I'm not the only person that feels this way and that stops themselves doing stuff and holds themselves back because of fear or not feeling worthy. And so many women have amazing voices that deserve to be heard. Like, we are going to be the world changers because we're the ones that have a vested interest in the world changing. The current, oh my God, I'm getting a feminist rant. The current constructs of the workplace and our society has been built by men. And it doesn't mean, I don't say that in a judgmental way, it was just the way things were. The whole corporation was designed by men for men. No one expected that there wouldn't be a woman at home kind of keeping the home fires burning when we structured a, 9-to-5 day. So it's the only people with a vested interest really in changing the world are the women who want to take their place in it, their rightful place. And that is why more women should be podcasting, because there's so many things that we can say and share that will change the world and change, even if it's changing one person's life. Oh my God, I'm getting emotional. One person's life, that is enough. That is changing the world. That is leaving your mark and knowing that, I used to always talk about stewardship in my first job, which is totally irrelevant, but it's about leaving. It's a value that was a core value of the first place that I worked, and it's the only value I really remember, and I loved it because it was all about leaving the place better than when you found it. And I think that's all any of us really want, is to leave the world a better place than when we found it. And I feel like I should now lead into a connection point of why you should start podcasting and join my course. But I have a course. You know that I can teach you podcasting. You know that there's many people that can teach you podcasting, and I'm just one choice, and I'm not for everybody. And I can suggest other people to you. I want you to do it this badly, that if I'm not for you but you want to learn, I will point you to free resources. I will point you to other people that I know teach this stuff and teach it well, but come at it from a different perspective from me. And my perspective is I've trodden the path that you're on, and I come at it from a business angle because I am a little bit addicted to business. And I'm excited for you to get you out there. I'm going to nurture you. That is my style. And I hope that whether or not you do it with me, whether or not you tell me, if you want to do this thing, let's do it. If there is something holding you back, what can you do to let it go? What is the point of bravery that you need to own? And what is the self-talk and that identity that of you as somebody that cannot podcast? How do we accept that we can shift who that person is and become a podcaster and get your message heard? Because we can change the world. And it's even more fun if we change it together, because there's the power of all of us women, all of us awesome, awesome women doing it together. So that's kind of it. I think I'm at the end of what I wanted to say. And I don't know if this makes a podcast episode. There was no beginning, middle, and end. I had no script. I had no microphone, but it's probably my most honest moment on the podcast ever, and why the hell not would I not share it with you? So thank you for listening. Thank you for being part of my journey, and I'll talk to you next week. I hope you enjoyed this show and my slightly different tangent. Please get in touch if you want to share your own embarrassing stories of chances missed and opportunities passing you by, just so I don't feel like a lonely loser, please. And if you want to give podcasting a whirl, definitely come join us in PodWell, podcastempires.com/join PodWell. Next week, we'll be back with the show. Did you notice that we're weekly now? This has been a while, but somebody kind of said to me, maybe you need to remind people that you're weekly. Tell people that you're weekly. I'm weekly. Hey. So next week we'll be back with a show I recently recorded with BizChicks podcast host Natalie Ekdahl. I can't wait to share it with you all. See you later. We've loved contributing to your empire building today. Please share us with a fellow empire builder so that we can help them too. Remember, #100K Empire Army. Thank you to Luke at The Wellness Pro for production and editing, to all of our guests, and to you, our most important empire building listeners. You should also check out my other podcast, #LadyBossChats, where Elle Roberts and I chat all things Lady Boss life. We feel like you've just pulled up a cozy armchair with your biz bestie. Find us in your favourite podcast app or at theladybossproject.com.